that I don't believe that's correct. Let me tell you why. There are 100 members in the Iowa House. The amendment to exempt the so-called 21 and over establishments received 47 votes when we first debated this bill a few weeks ago. It picked up about 7 votes yesterday, okay? So the difference is about 7 members out of 100 to change the outcome. So that's still, and some of those folks wrestled with it. There were some changes made during the debate. So getting into a conference committee where you can discuss differences, quote, related to, end quote, the House and the Senate. There is some areas to work as we continue to work with our members, but the margin is actually, even though it looks like the policy is significantly different, actually the margins in the House are pretty narrow in terms of trying to get a compromise out of that. So I'm hopeful.
Could you get a bill through the House without that exemption? I mean, it did pass with a couple of votes to spare.
I think it's very possible. I won't predict or give you an estimate, but I think it's very possible.
So the compromise you're talking about is not necessarily finding a compromise between the House and Senate position, but finding a compromise that can allow you to get 51 votes.
Somewhere in between.
Okay, fine.
On the House side, the second, yesterday when you took that back up on the bar exemption, unlike the first time, it wasn't a record roll call. Likewise, first time you took it around, you voted on casinos without there being a record roll call. Why?
There was an attempt to have a record. Procedurally required a second. No one seconded it. It was an error, so there was no record.
Well, why did you call for a second, for instance?
Well, there was a few records during the debate. We had a record on
I know, but to exempt bars, why didn't you specifically call for a record roll call?
There's no need to call for a record roll call.
Okay.
The reason is this: procedurally, we felt going in, although the debate changed the outcome quite a bit, but we felt going in, it was extremely, extremely likely that the bill would be altered. The Senate bill will be altered, particularly the Marshalltown Veterans Amendment, Mark Smith Amendment, okay? So we felt fairly certain the bill was going to go back to the Senate with then a goal of trying to get into a conference committee. So knowing that it's going to move forward procedurally to a conference committee, trying to have records that may not reflect accurately where everyone's at is not necessarily productive. Just at that point, just trying to get into the conference committee and move forward, and that's what we want.
Well, let's make a prediction here. Are you going to have an exemption for bars and restaurants?
I don't believe there will be a general exemption for bars and restaurants. No, I don't. Okay, and but I'd say on the other point, you know, sometimes records help you identify the places where you need to go and work. Sometimes records lock people into a position, and people, as Leader McCarthy has said, sometimes, you know, this is pretty kind of in the middle there. 7 to 10 people are kind of hearing from their constituents, going one way or the other on this, and have some real concerns about it, or struggling with what the choices are. So sometimes a record needlessly locks those people into a position, and then sometimes it's better not to have them. So.
Mike, are you saying that it's likely then that would the Senate then go for the casino exemption? Is that what you're saying there? Or not?
I'm not going to characterize, as a matter of fact, a number of people in our caucus said it's real too early to be predicting what the compromise is and what's going to come out of the conference committee. People are going to go in and work in good faith and try to come up with a bill that protects scores of thousands of Iowa workers. That's what this is about.
But you are willing to say no bars and restaurants, isn't that what you said, Dan?
I said that's likely.
If that's the case with the House, is there any way the House would approve a measure that has no bars and restaurants?
It's very possible. Like I said, these are very tight. The debate moved some votes yesterday, moved votes the first time. One example, I was convinced the 21 and over exemption would have passed the first debate. The debate changed people's votes, and it didn't pass. It got 47 votes. Based upon my vote count yesterday, the 21 and over exemption would have received somewhere in excess of 63, 65 votes. Debate changed the outcome. It got 53 or 54. So there are some people really wrestling with this because everybody's district is different, and who's advocating for this from their districts changes from district to district. I know in some districts, there's a legislator, he received, I think he said yesterday, 146 contacts from his district wanting a strong, pure statewide smoking ban in the previous 24 hours. I visited with another member who almost exclusively received comments in reverse from bar and restaurant owners. So it kind of depends what district you're in. It's so close and so narrow that I still think it's possible to get a pretty good, strong bill.
Is it possible to get no bill at all because of this dispute?
Anything's possible, but we're going to keep working for a compromise. So.
Thank you.
There have been dozens of property owners over the Capitol this session who feel that their properties are threatened by proposed lake projects. Is there Any idea that you might do some eminent domain reforms this session?
I would say that that's probably, I would say that that's probably not likely. I won't say totally unlikely, but I'd say it's not likely. We had this debate 2 years ago on eminent domain, and the House even had a debate on this specific issue dealing with lakes when we had that debate the first time in the House. So we've already had a debate. I don't think the numbers have changed that drastically. We have 3 or 4 legislators on the Republican side that are pushing fairly heavily on this. And I know they've offered several amendments this week, but I just think it's unlikely we'll be taking on a bill. And I mean, to my knowledge, I didn't think an eminent domain bill even got out of committee this year, so I'd say it's unlikely.
Thank you.